Alright guys, Technical Bit back again today. Hope you're all enjoying your Thursday. Today I wanted to talk about Red Reserve and their return that just broke today to the esports industry that is happening tomorrow, maybe even today by the time you're watching this video. Of course, a legendary organisation throughout Call of Duty for, infamous in some regard. Of course, towards the latter half of their time in Call of Duty, we had this whole, not playing the players situation, and the scam artists pretty much at the head of that are not the guys that are coming back into the company now, but they have gone their separate ways, as we'll talk about in this video. But of course, the new owners that have come into this Red Reserve organisation are not looking like they want to pay the previous players back, which is a very interesting situation. Of course, why the hell would they take on this brand? A very good question. We're going to get into that in the coming minutes. Leave your thoughts down below as always. Like if you guys enjoy it, I would greatly appreciate it, and so would the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you are new as always. Let's hop right into it then. So first of all, wanted to go through a couple of things from the organisations within the CDL at the very least. Royal Ravens say this weekend they're hosting a community tournament, Saturday, February the 15th. Those sign-ups are here. I'll leave this linked down below for you guys if you would like to check it out and sign up to play in the Royal Ravens Discord. 2v2 gunfight community tournament. Ravens merch up for grabs for the winners. 11 AM Eastern Time, 4 PM GMT if you guys would like to play even. Thanks to Lord Juanito for pointing this out to me as always on Twitter. And this also that Inflammable Fire points out to me. So Minnesota Rocker hosting their own watch party, the Atlanta homestand event at Billy's on St. Grand in St. Paul on February 22nd. I'm guessing that's somewhere in Minnesota. So yeah, if you guys are in the region, this could be something to go along to. It'd be really cool to do, to be honest. I'm not sure. Maybe I'd go to something similar if I was relatively close. Maybe go to London, have a watch party. That could be a lot of good fun. An event away from an event in a sense. So something to keep your eyes out on as well if you guys are in the area. Also wanted to bring this up because they changed the thermal as far as we can tell. So hopefully you can see it just about says new on the left here and smoke on the right here. But we know that thermal has been banned from, or at least gentlemen's agreemented out of professional play due to some issues with the consistency with it. However, they seem to have changed it in this recent update so that body heat shows as you would expect. So, white outlines pretty clearly. Honestly, this is an issue which really shouldn't have ever been in the game. But the problem is, when they finally added smokes to Modern Warfare, I think maybe that was a month in or a few weeks in, when they added smokes, thermals couldn't see through smokes, which kind of is the whole point. I made cold-blooded a pretty damn redundant perk, to be honest, especially from the competitive side of things. Nowadays, it's what you would expect from traditional Call of Duty. Body heat, you can see the enemies. Through a smoke, you can see the enemies. If they've got cold-blooded on, it is very, very difficult indeed, as you might expect. So, of course, maybe that does mean that the players now decide that, enough is enough in terms of gentlemen's agreementing out the thermal from competitive play. That might be something that we see, which would be pretty cool to see. We see a lot of sniper action right now. A lot of smoke grenades used to make pushes. We may well see if the pros decide that thermals come back into play. Of course, in this game, I'm pretty sure you can put thermals on your rifles as well. So you might see a kind of Black Ops 4 situation where you have people using thermals on their ICRs. And I think we saw it in other games before that as well, or at least way back in the day. But Black Ops 4 is a pretty definite example I do seem to remember. Maybe that's something we'll see into play. The pros didn't really like it though, so it is very possible that they decide nah, we don't want to go down this route, we'll keep it gentlemen's agreemented. But I'd be intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And also this from Pentagram, thanks to Esserine for pointing this out to me on Twitter. So apparently you can't even play on LAN with this new update. Just try to 1v1 my homie. You can't even open any lobbies when in local play. So as I talked about yesterday, if this is true, one step forward at the very least, at least 2 steps back, or whichever way around you want to put it, there's always issues with patches. So here we go. Let's talk Red Reserve. So Drill comes out with this, first of all, mind-blowing. If you're going to invest all that money into an organisation, why aren't you creating your own brand instead of attempting to revive a dead one? And I think this is a very interesting place to start. We'll talk in just a few seconds here about the Red Reserve, the career that they had. It's not really a career if it's a company, whatever. The time they had throughout Call of Duty, where they were left up really, middle of Black Ops 4 season. All the players went on to Denial, then they got scammed over there as well, went on to Units. Not an ideal situation at all. Obviously, Black Ops 4 was really, really rough. The likes of Zero, Rated, Joe, Bonta especially, those guys that are on Red Reserve kind of had to jump ship. The fact that they won't get paid, they won't be getting paid by the Red Reserve guys, even though they made the league. That's one of the benefits, of course, of franchising. You don't really have to worry about this stuff too much in the professional side of things. In the amateur side of things, it's definitely still a bit of an issue. But regardless, so yeah, if you're going to invest all that money into an organisation, why aren't you creating your own brand? Definitely makes a lot of sense, because Red Reserve's reputation, honestly, is pretty tarnished, and I think it's going to take a lot of good things to get over that from the community's perspective. Adam Fitch has returned. Adam Fitch, Red Reserve, has returned with a brand new management team. The relaunch is set for tomorrow. That is February the 14th. I haven't heard of any prior debts being paid off. I sincerely hope that is the case. If not, Red Reserve should stay dead. So, yeah, super interesting stuff. And Rated CoD in reply to this tweet, so Bryce says, they never gave you what you owe, right? Of course not. I'm down to link my PayPal, Cash App, bank details, OnlyFans to whoever needs it, though. I think the Rated was owed something in the region of $75,000. I'm pretty sure the total they owe is more like 200 grand. Honestly, outrageous stuff. The fact that they got away with this for so long, and some of you might have the question, like, how could they not lawyer up and get that money back? I'm pretty sure the way it worked in terms of liquidating all of Red Reserve assets, that the investors get paid off first in terms of what those assets that the company has are worth, and the players and the employees in that sense are pretty far down the pecking order in terms of stakeholders to get paid out. So the problem is that all the investors and stuff get paid off first, there's no assets left for a Red Reserve to pay off the players, and therefore legally, they don't really have to do it because they've already, they've declared a liquidation, I guess, and all their money is gone to the investors, and unfortunately the players are kind of left in that position where there's no money left for them and there's no one really to claim it back off. So let's have a look through their career through Call of Duty. Career doesn't really work, but let's start off through Infinite Warfare then. So Red Reserve, of course, launched as kind of a subset to FaZe. It was kind of a sniping thing they had going on there to start with. Then they launched into Call of Duty in late 2017. So Parasite, Swally, Lamagon and Pac-Man here at the Atlanta Open 2017. Then they picked up this European squad of Joab and Rated and Zero that came off that Orbit team that kind of merged with Red Reserve. And keep Orbit in mind. We're going to talk about that in just a second here. Then we had this other team with Niall and Shawnee, which actually had some pretty good results throughout the season. The Dallas Open especially, they put on a bit of a clinic. On the Stage 1 playoffs, they came top 16. Not ideal at any means, wasn't the best team. But, wasn't as bad as Elevate, at least, throughout that season. So, the World Championships, top 24th, not the best squad by any means. But then into World War II, they really became a competitive team. So this was the Joe, Rated, Zero and Josh team that, by the end of the season, Scraps joined them instead of Josh when Josh went on to that Epsilon squad. Second at Anaheim, third at Stage 2 playoffs. Honestly, I think the Anaheim, first, second throughout the whole of Stage 2 in terms of where they finished in the rankings, at least through their, I think they were in Group B or Group A, exactly what it was, but honestly a really good team throughout the course of the season. And the issue with them is that they had this really tough result. I think it was at Anaheim where they had that draw on Ardennes Forest Hardpoint with Rise Nation. Then they ended up losing that map on the replay. They lost the Search and Destroy. Then they went down to losers bracket and they didn't end up winning the final against Rise Nation either. Really difficult situation for them. Honestly, the best team that season not to win a championship. And a team that a lot of the European guys got behind, given that Spies weren't doing so hot in that season compared to what they'd done in Infinite Warfare. And in Black Ops 4, this is pretty much all we saw. After Fort Worth, the team pretty much collapsed because they weren't getting paid. And the scammers just decided to go off. And their CEO, I forget exactly what the name of this guy was, but he just, maybe this was Denial, so I'm getting confused. The CEO's a different guy, but Denial had a similar situation where their CEO just decided to quit. They had their chief hype officer we talked about that was just, doing donuts in cars, like talking trash. Honestly, a ridiculous situation we had that last season. But this is what I wanted to focus on. So this guy, Patrick Anderson, he was from Sweden here. So he was the CEO of Red Reserve, or at least one of the top dogs over at that organisation. People have a lot of different things to talk about this guy. If you want to find his LinkedIn profile, pretty damn easy to find. The interesting part about this, of course, is Orbit GG as a brand. That was the brand that merged with Red Reserve way back in the day when Patrick Anderson first took over, and everything kind of went down the drain. So, not necessarily the blame is totally on this guy, but I'm sure he had some involvement at the very least. And that's what I find pretty crazy here, in that this is the website now. You go onto Orbit, it says that in exactly 30 days, 0 hours. I don't think I got this lucky to be 30:00. Clearly, the timer hasn't started counting down yet. We're building something amazing, stay tuned. So the Orbit brand is apparently coming back out the woodwork as the Red Reserve brand is. So Red Reserve is a brand I'd have more faith in the sense of it seems like the leadership has changed now, as we'll go into this Adam Fitch article in just a second here. But still, it's pretty worrying to see these owners of these organisations that have done such dodgy things in the past still around in esports. But at least because we know this guy's name, it's not so easy for him to just to change his Twitter handle and start a new organisation like the whole Era Eternity stuff that happened back in the day. So this is the new investor, Kim Alden, CEO of Red Reserve, about the organisation's controversial revival. Let's go through a couple of things here before we finish the video. So yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts down below first of all. So you simply acquired the license to Red Reserve, obviously, because of course there's way more in this article than I'm going to go through here, so I'll leave it links down below for you guys. You simply acquired the license to Red Reserve. Yeah, it was last year. The old Red Reserve sold out their social media, and then we got the opportunity to buy the brand worldwide. So we have the rights for Red Reserve all over the world. You used to have a big social media following. You don't have access to that because I think the Twitter account deactivated or whatever. When you look at what Red Reserve was and you see the community they had, it was exactly that, a community. And honestly, it kind of was. They had a Discord. They had, you know, a lot of fans throughout Call of Duty and other esports as well, but mainly Call of Duty was the big one for sure for them. We really liked that before everything went the way that it did, when they had content creators, they had the Red House, of course, way back in the day. It was a really, really good community. They had a fan base that loved them, and it was quite easy to want to build that up again for the fans, for us, for the players. Now, definitely from an esports perspective, I think Red Reserve is going to have a super difficult time getting out of this lull, this gully, I guess, because, you know, everyone kind of knows the situation that went down. However, the sniping side of things and that kind of community, in that sense, that still has potential in a way, because people might not remember to the same degree as we do that were pretty hit by this whole stuff that went down with Red Reserve last season. Now, this is the interesting one. Has the alleged debt owed to players, creators and staff been paid off, or do you not see that as your responsibility? That's the million-dollar question. The problem is, we are a new company, we are new management, we have nothing to do with the old board members or company at all. They still work on other organisations out there, like the OrbitGG situation we just looked at. We are not going to pay off the debts that the old board members and the old company should. To be honest, you know, this is a reasonable perspective if they were just, you know, starting a new organisation. Obviously, it is the old company's responsibility. At the same time, if you take on that brand and that brand comes back to life, you should be expected to some degree to have to pay off what that, you know, what that brand has done. If you want to prove yourself that you really are here and mean business in terms of bringing Red Reserve's reputation back to what it was back in the day, surely this is a necessity to pay off that debt and say, look, we're a new Red Reserve, you know, we mean different. Otherwise, it seems to be exactly the same situation as happened with Red Reserve in the past. So not ideal by any means, them saying they're not going to pay off the players. That's really not good to see at all. How do you plan on turning the Red Reserve brand around into something positive? We're going to do this our own way. We're not going to promise any player anything we can't give them. We're not going to promise the world. We're not going to give them salaries we don't have the funds for, which effectively is what happened before. We're going to start from the bottom and actually build up the right way. We have a good community on Discord already, which as I talked about, and okay, maybe not the Red Reserve stuff, but Relentless, I think, is the organisation that's kind of bought in here. Everyone's really excited to get on this journey with us, so we'll have to see how this goes going forward. Personally, I don't think this is really a good look for their organisation, the fact that they're not paying off former players and the debts that they owe, but I'd be intrigued to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.